Christine Brennan just exposed the WNBA in a major way.
Christine Brennan is one of the best sports writers in the country, has been for a long time.
Caitlin Clark is way more important to the WNBA than Tiger Woods was to men's golf, even though he was huge. And to then see this negativity, like why and what should have been done? I looked seriously at the leadership of the WNBA. And how could you not be prepared for this moment? You've seen it happening in the Big Ten. You've seen it at Iowa. You see these TV ratings.
The WNBA found itself in the most embarrassing spotlight possible. Christine Brennan, a veteran USA Today journalist, finally had enough of the silence and dysfunction and dropped a truth bomb that shook the league's credibility. Her revelations didn't just highlight the mishandling of Caitlin Clark, they exposed deep issues of jealousy, pettiness, and organizational incompetence. She questioned whether the epic failure of the WNBA was rooted in envy or outright cluelessness, throwing the whole system into question. It all started when Brennan, who has covered women's basketball longer than most players have been alive, decided to write a book. But it wasn't a celebratory puff piece, it was an investigative bombshell. She dug into how the WNBA failed to prepare for the arrival of Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation superstar. Brennan's take wasn't just an opinion, it was scorched-earth journalism, and it sent shockwaves through the league. Brennan compared Clark's impact to that of Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan. She noted how other athletes and leagues rallied around Tiger and Jordan because they understood that success for one could lift everyone. In Clark's case, however, it seemed like people within the WNBA resented her. Brennan pointed out that Clark has been targeted with more flagrant fouls than any other player, and people even told Brennan not to ask why some dislike Clark. That made her want to ask the question even more, why is she so polarizing? She didn't sugarcoat it. Brennan revealed that the WNBA was not only unprepared for Clark, they were actively bitter. Clark didn't just bring talent, she brought TV ratings, sold-out arenas, and a new audience. Yet instead of embracing this gift, the league treated it with suspicion. When Clark declared for the 2024 draft, Brennan called a senior league official. She expected enthusiasm. Instead, the official dryly compared Clark to Maya Moore. As legendary as Moore is, she never made mainstream waves like Clark. That moment told Brennan everything. Brennan, who's covered everything from Wimbledons to Super Bowls, saw something unique happening. Texts from male sports fans rolled in, asking if she was watching Clark. These were men who had never watched a women's game before, and now they were captivated. Brennan realized this was a national phenomenon. The Big Ten tournament became a pilgrimage, people standing in line in the cold just to watch Clark play. And yet, the WNBA acted like nothing was happening. While Brennan saw what was coming, WNBA executives seemed to have their heads buried in the sand. They missed the moment, and worse, they didn't care. Brennan called it out, this wasn't just negligence, it was willful ignorance. They didn't see Clark as a marketing miracle. They saw her as a threat. Imagine running a bakery and being surprised people want bread. That's how bad it was. Brennan's book is titled Unauthorized, an intentional move to tell the truth without filters. She praised Clark for being open, candid, and willing to tackle real issues. But Brennan didn't shy away from the hard stuff. She pointed out that Clark, a white woman from Iowa, entered a league that's 74% black. And while that shouldn't matter, it did. Brennan acknowledged that she and others can't fully grasp what it's like to be black in America. Still, she argued that Clark's rise should have been seen as a win for everyone. Despite all the warning signs, the WNBA leadership fumbled the ball. Brennan exposed how journalists and YouTubers saw the Caitlin Clark wave coming. Clark's fan base was massive and hungry to follow her into the pros. Yet the league stayed asleep. In 2023, the Indiana Fever averaged 4,000 fans per game. But once Clark arrived, fans were lined up 2 hours early just to watch a preseason game. It was like a Taylor Swift concert. Arena security had never seen anything like it. Instead of embracing the moment, the WNBA created an unnecessary hero-villain narrative. Clark was cast as both. Some fans adored her, others resented her. Brennan argued that this dynamic, often useful in men's sports, felt forced and toxic in the WNBA. It didn't have to be this way. The league could have marketed Clark and her rivals together, creating compelling storylines. Instead, it leaned into hostility. Brennan's book dives deep into the cultural fractures inside the league. She exposed how some players and coaches resented Clark's popularity. Rather than celebrating increased visibility, they lashed out. Players threw cheap shots. Coaches made snide comments. Even referees seemed hesitant to protect her. Brennan painted a picture of a league torn between wanting growth and hating how it arrived. What makes this even more heartbreaking is how obvious it all was. Clark had been a superstar in the making. Her Iowa career proved she could draw national attention. Yet WNBA leaders acted like this was all a surprise. Brennan criticized their outdated mindsets. Many seemed to believe that mainstream success would taint the league's purity. That thinking created a toxic environment that allowed envy to fester. Instead of rolling out red carpets, the WNBA rolled out speed bumps. Brennan showed how the league mishandled everything from merchandising to scheduling. Clark's jersey wasn't even readily available at first. Games featuring her were placed in obscure time slots. It felt like sabotage. And the leadership vacuum? Brennan put Commissioner Kathy Engelbert under the microscope. Where was she during the hard fouls? The cheap shots? The media smear campaigns? Brennan suggested that Engelbert was either asleep at the wheel or quietly complicit. Either way, it wasn't a good look. Even inside locker rooms, Clark faced resistance. Brennan exposed how certain cliques within the league saw her as a threat, not a teammate. They created unnecessary obstacles, hoping to dim her spotlight. Yet these same people would later go online and brag about how women's basketball was finally getting attention, thanks entirely to Clark. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. The fallout? Lost money, missed opportunities, and a league that nearly sabotaged its own future. Brennan argued that if the WNBA had supported Clark, everyone would have benefited. Bigger paychecks. Better facilities. More sponsorships. But pettiness won out. Veteran players and old-school executives couldn't handle being upstaged. Meanwhile, younger players were ready to embrace the spotlight Clark brought. Bottom line, Brennan's book isn't just about Caitlin Clark. It's a brutal takedown of the WNBA's failure to seize its greatest moment. From envy to incompetence, from outdated thinking to leadership failure, she lays it all bare. The WNBA had the easiest marketing slam dunk in sports history, and they blew it. All they had to do was lift up the one player who could carry them to the next level. Instead, they let jealousy and dysfunction rule the day.